What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We got another one of our Birthright series faction reviews here. We're continuing on and wrapping up, getting close to wrapping up the southern coast here. So our previous one, we looked at the Impregnable Heart of Halen, again, some of the sort of non-political factions that are available for players to play. This one, we're looking at the guild situation on the southern coast, which is pretty interesting overall. So as it says in here, the guilds of the south enjoy a heated rivalry. Occasionally, they work together basically to sort of get concessions out of various rulers. But more often than not, they're also at each other's throats, basically just trying to gain advantage here. So the main one that is recommended here for players is what they call the Port of Call Exchange. Now, it is listed as lawful evil, so just keep that in mind there. And so basically here you're dealing, you're essentially largely in the import business. So, dealing mainly with silks and spices and other things imported from the Kinasi lands to the east. So, again, we'll cover that in a separate series, but that is one of the other sort of major nations or groups of people, I should say, far off in the east, and again, kind of meant to represent like a more Middle Eastern type of setting. But they've also recently branched into ranching and livestock in Roseone and Diomed, which is interesting because, again, those aren't necessarily friendly physical or friendly political territories with each other either. So on the guild side, you do have lots of good stuff to work with here. So you have a level 7 holding in Ilion. Basically, you are all the guild action in that country. You have a fair bit in Diomed itself, about half the provinces there. You do have half of the available holdings in Meduir, in Alamir. And then you have a fair bit in Roseone as well, although just a sort of a foothold in Abatur or Tuor, which is on the south, which is a little bit surprising because you'd figure that's where a lot of his ships and stuff are docking as well. But that's nonetheless that's a potential for beating up the competition there and raising that up. So you have a decent amount of regency accumulated, or sorry, that you generate, and not so much accumulated, but it's probably because it's being constantly spent to grow and deal with your rivals. That being said, you have a massive treasury to start off with, kind of like that the Impregnable Heart started off with 31 gold bars. 43 is fantastic. That beats out pretty much every country on the southern coast and just most in general, just for starting gold bar value. So you have lots of working capital and money to spend. That being said, if you're taking on the role here of the current head of the guild, El Hadid, he doesn't like spending his money, but again, you kind of have to spend money to make money here, and especially in the cutthroat sort of guild rivalries here, you need to be spending that money to stamp out and sort of cement your foothold here. So he is, if you're playing him again, he's a Kinasi, so he kind of came in from the eastern lands. Level 3 thief. He's got a small tainted bloodline. He is lawful evil himself. Came in about 12 years ago, so and basically just had a ship full of spices and silks, as it said, and then just instant demand for luxury goods, and then kind of just kept going and expanded from there. So he does have a fleet of several ships, and we'll talk about who has like what ships and stuff available as well when we get to the naval expansion and we review all that. But that's definitely like one of your major assets there, is just having an actual fleet that with a little bit of work could even be converted to more military purposes if you had those kind of ambitions. So, but frequently making the run between Ilion, which is kind of his main base of operations, as you can see from that level 7 holding, which is again massive. And basically from there, you're using the money that you're making from your shipping and bringing in those luxury goods to then branching into the other countries here of the southern coast. So you've got a little bit of competition here in the form of CLA Goreed, and again, probably Goreed, butchering that name, but that doesn't seem to be really any sort of serious competition, so you're kind of winning that battle. But you have Orthian Thane to deal with and Gilder Kalian, specifically him, that are kind of like your most pressing opponents, and certainly Kalian, who owns a larger guild than you, but also is a ruler of a political territory. Like, that's honestly going to be like your stiffest competition, some of your most dangerous competition. So you do want to tread carefully there. But Orthian Tane is also worth being careful of there. So he owns the Southern Anywhere Shipping and Imports. He's a little bit more westerly focused than you, with in holdings in Diomed and Meduir, and a little bit in Roseone as well. Kalian, again, is going to be your main adversary, but again, just more in the western territories there. You have also the Straits of Ariel shipping, but that's more in the colony of Miras, so we've already talked about that. Go check that video out. So you probably don't want to mess with that, just because the ruler of that colony also runs all the guild action there, so there's really no chance of you muscling in there, at least not until you develop even more resources, because attacking him would also bring you some heat with the ruler of Avenil. So Gorid, or CLA Gorid here, doesn't really own all that much, although a lot in Arenway, which is where you could potentially start muscling that competition out. So just some things to consider there, but so overall, that's unfortunately all you would get here, and it would be nice to have a little bit more on the others here, but we'll try and fill that in when and wherever possible. But kind of just sticking with actual book things for now before we go and get into some of the other expanded things. But it's an interesting one. You certainly have a very robust and growing business here, and you can certainly play that up and sort of become sort of king of the southern coast here. You just got to muscle out some of the other competition and see how you want to expand that business. So again, playing up the strengths of your fleet, and you do essentially have the market locked on luxury goods from Kinasi, so you might try to expand that a little bit more and bring in luxury goods from some of the other areas, or just other goods that are tough to get a hold of, and that could involve expanding your fleet, depending on what the DM wants to do in a campaign here. All right, so that should wrap things up here for the Port of Call Exchange. Again, we've kind of gone through some of the strengths and weaknesses here, setup that you have, and sort of ways to expand your power and some of the challenges awaiting you. Again, we do have other sort of competitors across the southern coast here, which again will be covered in other areas or other countries or a little bit later in more detail. But again, things to contend with are mainly like the Spider River Traders, Straits of Arel Shipping, the Heartland Outfitters, which we'll get into more later on when we cover Endier. And then also Southern Anywhere shipping and imports is something to keep in mind. So, but anyway, yeah, so plenty of opportunity here. Great one to try out. And again, you're starting off very generous here with a treasury. So you have plenty of capital to spend here to sort of take your plans and sort of bring them to fruition. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for stopping by today. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And again, take care, guys. We'll see you.